Hi, hello everyone. Hi, hello everyone again. So my name is Wani, and today's video is going to be a response to the Žižek video that kind of, I guess, blew up on my channel. So today I'm going to go through first the structure of my responses because I would like to keep it under an hour, even though I think right now there's like 130 comments, which is a lot, and yeah, so I'll just go through like which ones I would choose to reply, how I would choose to reply them. The next is I'll just talk a bit about monetization, which is a goal that I think I've hit, which is really cool. Oh, also, if you're here, say hi. It's always nice to know kind of like who's on the other side of the virtual space. So please say hi so that I can say hi back. The next thing is, I guess I'll just go through a little bit about like kind of the ambiance before I posted, which was like very like don't do it, but I was like fuck it, and I did it anyway, and it turned out really good. So yeah, I mean, I think like half of the time like I do things, I feel like when you see someone doing something, it kind of gives you permission to do the same. So hopefully that is encouraging to you when you feel like you shouldn't do something, but you feel like you should do something, but then everything's telling you not to. So yeah. Then I will, if I see the comment, I will reply about like this thing about society because there's this comment that I thought was interesting and I'd love to address. And then I'll give a small call to action, and then I'll introduce well, not next week, because of Hegel, because I need to be somewhat generous with myself and have a bit of grace in terms of how much work it's actually taking to go through the phenomenology properly in a way, not rush just to meet a deadline. I might actually take 3 weeks to produce the next Spinoza video because right now there's like a raw of like 100, not 100, like an hour and 30 minutes of footage. So it's gonna take me a while. So yeah, there's that. And it's kind of here, and this is up here because it's part of the way that I'm going to respond to some questions to save some time. So we have Ben. Hi, Ben. Hi, Sumar. Hi, Satinala. Let me know if I pronounce it correctly. You're really great at that parasocial thing. Yeah. See, this is like the thing. Like, I'm trying really hard to curb that, but it's not up to me. So not much weight on my shoulders there. Hi, Jesse. Hi, Callum. Hi, Little Ming. Oh yeah, you were here yesterday. Hi, Ming. Hi, Jeremy. Hi, Charlie. And hi, Lucas. Yay! Thank you for my camera just beeped. We're still okay? Okay, we're still okay. So yeah, okay. I guess I'll go through the response structure. Oh gosh, how many minutes are we in? 3 minutes. Okay, so I just have to plus 3. So I'm gonna set a timer here, and the reason why I'm doing this is because it's more efficient to actually reply in this format. Because like I said yesterday, nothing is more frustrating when you, well, when like I guess I won't speak for you, but like a person who, well, I'll just talk about myself. When I take the time to reply a comment and not just like a sentence, but like paragraphs, and then I get a response and it's like a really interesting back and forwards, and then you have 6 back and forwards and the person just deletes it. And I'm like, you take the time to respond to a person and then they just delete it, not for a reason that you know why, because again, it wasn't like an argument. It's just like two sides coming together and not even again like agreement, but some kind of understanding, which I thought was very interesting and conducive. And they delete it, so it's a bit frustrating. So if I have it here, it's here forever. And also like it's just more fun because you get to comment with me and I don't have to like do it as if like I'm answering emails. The second thing, oh, so with the timer, I'm just going to like, if I discuss a comment, I'll just write like CC and then I'll write like a timestamp. Now I have to plus 3 it so that the person knows when I address their comment. The next thing is I'm going to go through with my YouTube Studio app on my iPad. So I think it's going to go from most recent to back, the like most recent to the least recent. And if it gets missed out, it's the app, it's not me. And the last thing is like some of my responses will just be directed to my next video. And I think my next video is just going to explain why it is I'm not going to respond to them, because we give power to people we give attention to. So just don't give them attention, and then they literally disappear in terms of your consciousness. Yes. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is monetization. So never loved math. Like if there are any sciences, biology is my favorite. But I think by the end of next week, my channel will be monetized. And like, oh my god, don't fucking cry, what the fuck. Um, it's just a lot because I know I'm not doing everything right in terms of I know I'm not doing everything right in terms of YouTube, in terms of like black and white, in terms of how long, in terms of the cuts, a lot of things that like, they're like it's not high retention or whatever, not producing enough, you need more quantity, and I'm just like I can't make anything that I'm proud of faster than what I'm doing while having a life, while also improving my actual philosophy. So I have 75 videos up. A lot of them are shorts, a lot of them are lives, which do not take as much time as producing an actual video. Let me just say, like, each video literally takes days, and it's not a flex, it's just a fact. To finish reading a book, let's just talk about Žižek. The book itself, I mean, I read it over time. It wasn't like I finished it with a goal. It was just something that I had like next to my bed before I fell asleep because it was kind of the only thing in English I was reading. So yeah, like it was just something that happened over time. Then coming up with the concept that I want to share, then like that takes a few days. And yeah, it just, editing itself takes hours just because like what I add, what I take away, and they're like people are like give it to someone else to do, but no one can actually know what it is I'm trying to say, what is important, what is not important, what to add in place of places to make it have more, I guess, context. So yeah, I can't outsource, also don't want to outsource, but each of them takes a really, really long time. And like uni starting up again, so it was really stressful. But yeah, so just posting videos, just posting videos as much as I could, going live as much as I could was just all I could do, and not to hope that it would monetize. But I think it will next week, so it's really cool. So for those who have, what the fuck, for those who have supported me, not only through like watching my videos, but like being encouraging, thank you a lot. So my god, this is like live. I can't even get it out. Okay, one sec. Okay. So yeah, the next thing I want to talk about is how this video almost didn't make it. So if you watched my live before the one on Hegel yesterday, I like received like you receive a lot of shit from the internet, right? So one of it was like, wow, this is a lot. And the thing is, like, it wasn't even about this guy. It was just this idea of like, if I keep doing YouTube, then you're just gonna get more and more of this shit. So it was more of like that person represented this anticipation of crap that I was gonna receive if I keep putting myself out there. So yeah, I was like kind of like I was calling my friends, and they were just one of my friends was like, yeah, that person's a sicko, but you know what? You should start like your another Instagram to put like reels up so that you get more people. And I was just like, it's like I'm thinking about like, oh, it's actually like terrifying to so-called be a personality on YouTube. And then my friend's just like, oh yeah, be bigger. And I'm like, what the fuck? But yeah, so in the end, I was just like, fuck it. It's a small YouTube account. I think what I had to say is interesting. I would like to see it if I wasn't the person creating it. It was just difficult because, like, I mean, many reasons, right? Like, a very simplistic, naive person would just be like, "You're against science? Like, what the fuck?" And then, but it's just a critique. Like, I think we should always question and critique, and the whole point of philosophy, in my point of view, is we always just keep asking why it is that we believe this, and we don't just go by "oui dire," which is like you heard it from somewhere, and you're like, "This is fact for the rest of my life." And yeah, it was just like it felt like a very easy target because I decided to leave moments where I took the time to think. I think I said this to Jesse, where I'm really proud of my Spinoza video, but the frustrating thing about it for me is that it was so quick because I had in mind the idea of like so-called retention, so-called like not dragging on for too long, cutting out points where I think. But I think like the whole point of what it is I'm trying to do, besides share my ideas, which I think are interesting and I hope are interesting to other people, and helpful. The most important thing is helpful. It's not just interesting, but genuinely helpful, because it's about me verbalizing things or having a kind of way of finding ideas, creating a foundation for them that is more than just a feeling. So yeah, like what I said to Jesse was just sorry, I'm like still coming over like the emotions, but what I said to Jesse was what I didn't like about it was like it was too fast. The ideas were really good, but it was just going so fast. And I'm like, thinking doesn't happen this quickly. Figuring out things doesn't happen this quickly. And I think one of the most frustrating things about philosophy, or at least for me, is this putting it on the pedestal. One, it's like this idea of like, this text is really difficult and you're never going to get it. This is the most like complex thing that you ever come across. The tutors that I really like are the ones like, yeah, just read like Aristotle's Metaphysics. You're like, how? And they're like, just do it. And they're like, okay. So the ones who are like, yeah, this is like an extremely complex text, like I don't really listen to them, because then you just create your own barriers for entry. But yeah, the other thing is also like this idea that a person just comes up with an idea like on the spot. And almost every book that I read of authors that I really like Heidegger, like Hegel, there's always this thing of like, don't believe, like there's you should be cautious about this idea of immediate understanding, and also cautious about this need for people to feel like you exactly know what you're saying from the get-go. Like it takes time, it's a process. An argument is a development of ideas. So leaving in pauses to me just felt like a huge vulnerable point. People like, she doesn't know, she's thinking, even though that's the point. But yeah, so it was a fuck it move for me, and I'm really grateful for the supportive comments. Yeah, and that was just the environment before I posted it. So okay, what else do I want to talk about? Let's just see what comments are there. Greetings from Finland. Hi, Ismail. Yeah, it's so weird entering a comment thread you were in and find some of the people who are just aren't there anymore. Savage. Which one is savage? Hi, Calm. Oh yeah, the world will throw schmucks at you, especially if you're starting a public-facing job. The larger, the higher counter rate. Yeah, so it's a choice that I made, because like I don't want to talk too much about this, but like I've been an intern in a production company for film and documentary, and I will not work with mediocre people ever again, because it kills my spirit. And I say this because the producers actually were on my side. It was just the people that, because I was an intern, there was like people in between me and the producers, so-called writers. And yeah, I was like, I did that last summer, and I was like, even if I get the job, I don't want it, because there's just this, like I like worked in LA, entertainment business, for so long that like I just have like all these ideas, and like you come to the specific company and like their way of thinking, you're just like, how do you expect to make anything interesting with this way of thinking? But again, I'm not talking about the producers, who were really sweet. Like they actually stood up for me, which was actually hard for them, I believe, because they need to maintain like group morale, because I'm visiting, right? Because I was just an intern. But after that point, I was just like, yeah, I have to make my own stuff. This is not possible. The only thing that I could imagine doing is doing film and documentaries or something in literature. But I'm like, I can't work with these people. So maybe I just haven't found the right company, but I'm not going to spend years trying to find a work environment that suits me, and I'm just going to try to do it myself. So yeah, what else do I want to talk about? There's this thing about society I want to talk about, but I think the comment is here, and then I'll go through call of action afterwards, and then I'll talk about my next video. So yeah, I guess we'll just start. And I saw this an hour ago. So a guy basically wrote, so loosely we can call it like a poem, which is why I subscribe. I was thinking whether or not to read it out loud, but again, I don't want to give voice to anything that I think I don't appreciate. So I'm just gonna reply. What time is it? So it's 11, so 12:15. So CC15, and that just means that I replied at 15. And the reason would be on my next video, which is standards, when not to say thank you, 2 people to avoid, hashtag Spinoza. These 2 people are parasites and flatterers. And it's, I just started editing it this morning, and I think the world will appreciate that video. The next one is, you emanate a delicate sensitivity and elegance. How can one cultivate these rare qualities? This is like kind of in between. I read it out loud because it's not outright like frustrating. Because like my very first reel was me just talking about prendila con filosofia, which is Italian for take it with philosophy, like take it as it is. And a guy, and it's literally me here to here, right? I'm walking and talking. And this guy writes in the comments like, I bet you have really like pretty cute feet. It's like I was like the shots here. So people, it's like there are people who would happily sell you feet pics, but you come to this channel to ask for something else. It's like, and then you get upset afterwards where it just doesn't fit, which doesn't make sense to me. But how do you emanate a delicate sensitivity and elegance? I would say that my mom forced me to do ballet, and that is probably the best thing I can talk about in terms of physical sensitivity and elegance. Other than that, I would just be making it up. So 12, 15, 30. I'm sorry that the first few are about these, but it is what was commented. The next is I'm not oh, it's another one. I'm not really qualified to comment on the ideas presented here, but may I just say you look particularly beautiful in this video. So we're gonna do that, which is 60 CC 16. Where did I do this? Like if I was like some boring ass like dude, I wouldn't have these comments, is my point. There are too many Žižek videos. I'm oversaturated. I wish there were more, in my opinion. Okay. And then there was some on Hegel's yesterday, and then someone commented on Bourdieu and Schopenhauer, and then we're back to Žižek. I love all your videos. I'm just gonna heart that because what else can I say? And then Carol Freelink wrote, philosophizing is an activity that has no end, at least not as long as there are people to philosophize. It's the same as like, what was that? Fahrenheit. 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 What's the number? Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit. You know the one where they burn the books? And it's like at the end they recite the books and it's like in the people. What is so beautiful about your videos is that you're on a journey of discovery and you take us along this journey, and we can all see how you come up with your ideas while philosophizing and ordering thoughts that you probably didn't have before recording. You make philosophizing in this way very appealing. Keep up the good work. I'm gonna heart, and then I'm just gonna CC 1730. So this is like what I'm trying to promote, like this idea that everyone can participate in philosophy and it's not just this thing you put on a pedestal. I think like my upbringing and like obviously LA, like philosophy is seen as like a very extra step in life, whereas like in France they do it in high school, like they have to take philosophy to pass high school, so it's a different mentality, and you can say like that's also why like the French is chiant, like frustrating, because there is always like this term called ça dépend. It's like it depends, because they've learned to look at things in different angles because they were forced to do philosophy. But I think it's super great, and yeah, thank you for the encouragement. The next one is, can you please deep dive into the meaning of fantasy itself? This is a really interesting suggestion taken into account. Thank you very much. Are there anything to reply? Fahrenheit, yeah, 451. Thank you. Would love if you could read and comment on Albert Caraco one day. Okay. Okay. Thank you for introducing me to. Do you have a specific book, if you want to recommend? Do you speak German? If not, then why Sein and Insight in the background? I'm level 1 in German. If you were here for the Wittgenstein series, I tried to, well, I didn't try to, I did it. I read the passages in German, which I translated like word by word. Again, like my history, I'm actually thinking of doing a series on how I'm learning Italian and German, because me learning French was for a different goal, and then me learning Italian and German is also for a different goal. So I have different, what do you call it, techniques based on what it is that I find difficult about each particular language, and also what it is that I want to gain from the language. So just really quickly, like Italian, I really want to talk to people. So how is it that I'm trying to improve that? And then with German, I mainly want to read, because I actually stayed in Berlin for 2 months. And I have very select German friends, but I guess it's like anyone. I'm making like, it's not a real generalization, but it's the amount of German people that I'll talk to compared to Italian people is very different. So Sein und Zeit, I have it here because, like, for me, how many tangents I want to go into, but basically like I keep things nearby even though I'm not there yet, so that when I have this impulse to get there, I have it ready for me. Like it's just disponible, it's available. It's the same as I bought like Let et Nyon for Sartre because I know it's like grand œuvre, like it's a very important work. I never really needed to use it, and then one day I had a dissertation that has something about it, and I just had it here, and then I just read the chapter that I needed. So yeah, it's I'm level one. I did like German translations for Wittgenstein to get closer, but I'm nowhere near capable, or at least I'll need a lot more time before I get to the German of Sein und Zeit. Is there anything else? No. Okay. So the next is just found out your channel and begun binge watching it. What a wonderful channel! Your videos have been enlightening for me, and I hope you keep up the good work because it really helps to have such an amazing philosophy channel at YouTube. Thank you. I'll just heart. Happy. No, this is on Wittgenstein. Sorry. This is on my novel. Okay. So in response to your last question, the thing I believe you were getting at is at the semblance, understanding that reality is a semblance of subjective and objective. No, it's that fantasy is the semblance, not that reality is the semblance. Because semblance. No, semblance is the appearance of reality. So it's not about reality, it's the appearance of reality of subjective and objectivity. No. By getting lost in either objective or subjective, you're empty of the truth of it, in the sense that there is no I in complete objectivity. Further, there is not concrete or existence outside oneself. So now you're getting to solipsism. Is that how you pronounce it in English? Solipsism in complete subjectivity. The truth is in the emergence of both existentialism. This is because semblance is how you really truly perceive and interact with life. There's like oftentimes, and maybe it's just me, there are oftentimes I get comments like this and I just don't know how to respond because I don't know what the point is or what the thread is. Like usually when I respond, it's like I'm like, oh, this is what they're leaning towards, and then this is what I respond to. This I have no idea. So I'm just gonna move on. I think you were bang on in part 2, and we're getting at precisely what he means by empty of subjectivity. The dissonance being a feature and not a bug. This is very interesting. As someone who is not American and inundated with American partisan rhetoric, I think even Americans are inundated with partisan rhetoric. So I don't think it's just because you're not American. And despite my distaste for the entire political climate, I find myself consuming the media nonetheless and internally engaging with it. Yeah, that's interesting. Inside, I pick a side and levy defenses and prepare attacks. I've noticed this is something our social media loves. Anything that makes people feel attacked. It's not just social media; it's media in general. There's this person that I like used to really watch on YouTube for the news, and I don't know about you guys, but it's like, do you feel like some OGs like really plateau? It's like they want to maintain their core identity, and oh, maybe I should just write CC 24 just so that, because I'm kind of addressing this. Yeah, and it's just like it's just really like difficult to watch because he would say stuff like, oh yeah, like, you know, all these media companies are trying to like incite fake news, and he himself, it's like it's always everything is such a massively dire situation. It's like this is the end as we know it, da, 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 da. And I'm like, not saying that we should relativize everything and bring it like make it like not a big deal so that we can cope with it. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that like he himself is like literally this is the situation, and instead of going like this is the situation, you feel like, yeah, but imagine if like it all went to shit like all the time. Everything he says, like it's always like in the end it always caps off with like this is the developed thing and we just have to see how horrible it gets. So yeah, it's not just social media, it's media in general, because that's what it gets our passions going, and then we react and stuff. Anything that makes you feel attacked. get enormous engagement. Okay, yeah, we're on the same page. It flicks that switch in the back of our brains from passive observers to active. I'm trying at the very least to be mindful of the feelings that are drawn towards the surface by this media minefield and not let any of my reactions go unexamined. Good work. Try, because me too, I try. I don't believe the political climate in the States is actually representative of reality. I mean, like, that it kind of is in a way, because it's like it's a representation of reality. It's not reality. And I think if we accept that everything is a representation, it's not like, oh, this is not a representation of reality, because it kind of is. And I think like that's one of the reasons why like I like Žižek a lot, because he uses a lot of films. And something that we're taught to do at uni as well is like this thing called amorce, which is an entry point, get people into the story. At the beginning I was very like, I mean, I still do this a lot with if you look at my like presentations, I usually bring in a film or I bring in like a concept, just so that it doesn't feel like such a far away distant idea that I'm trying to express. And usually when you bring in film, it's already someone's done the work in terms of how they've already observed certain elements, and you're able to lean on that to tell more of a story. Not more of a story, but like to begin your argument. So representation of reality, though, again, like I lived in LA, but I was in New York a lot and San Francisco a lot. But New York is definitely, it's like which came first, the people or the way they're being portrayed, because they have this very genuine way of existing exactly like how you watch them on TV. But you can also say it's because, you know, whatever person that they watch, whatever character that they watch is how they want to be, and then that's like their ideal, and then they kind of conform their way to meeting these stereotypes. And then these stereotypes, because again, like I was an actor in LA, you read them, and like also I wrote I wrote I script wrote I wrote a script, I co-wrote a script, and also like I acted, so I read a lot of scripts. And a lot of the times they talk about the truth, like representing the truth. And every time they like when you're doing an audition, they'll be like, who is this person? This person really exists. Like imagine if this person like really exists, like not imagine if this person really exists, like this person really exists somewhere, blah 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 blah. And you have to find a way to make it realistic. So it's like they wouldn't make something that they think doesn't really exist because it won't relate to anyone. So to say that representation of reality is like devoid of reality, or it's like as if it's not reality, it's the separation is not really that clear. But as more and more people are exposed to this, it begets more itself and becomes reality. Okay, this guy is on the same page with me. Okay, I haven't read comments, so this is why like I'm probably repeating this guy. Heart. As soon as you feel attacked or feel compelled to step up in defense of something against you see as as the enemy, the war story becomes real life. That is so interesting. Let me read that again because I think I butchered it. So as soon as you feel attacked or feel compelled to step up in defense of something against someone you see as an enemy, the war story becomes real life. That is a really interesting comment. So yeah. Moving on, there's something in Chinese, but my Chinese is terrible. So thank you for, this is the translation. Thank you for not telling me the answer to your last point. Thank you for your pause. What is stripped away at this moment is my own trauma, faking our pain, not just our thoughts. Don't understand the second part of the trauma. The first part is the last point. I know, like if you watch videos, because for me, like I want to take this seriously, YouTube seriously, and I have been, and that's why I've been consistent. But they talk a lot about like hooks, and then they talk a lot about like open endings and all these like storyline plots shit. But like the thing about my videos, I didn't have the answer, and I still don't have it. So it wasn't like I didn't tell you the answer because it's to keep you in suspense. I genuinely didn't know. I still don't know. So let's see what else other people have to say. But thank you for the pause. That I appreciate, because I would love to put more pauses in my videos, and getting this kind of feedback makes me feel like they would be understood. Because I think I spoke to one person and she just asked me like, what do you do when people just seek the bad in you? Like she was just having a hard time because everything she was trying to do, she felt was to be helpful. But then the way people reacted to her was just like that she was like super high standards, nitpicky, blah, blah, blah. And I just said to her, like, life's just like that. And you need to surround yourself with people who do not search for the bad in you. And with the internet, you can't pick. So I'm trying to like with axioms, I know like it's also a way to support me, financially for the work that I do, but it's also really helpful emotionally to like speak to people and to get like the response that um, directly about how it is you're being understood, instead of just like making something, throwing it into the void and like hoping for the best. It's nice to actually talk to people, and it's kind of something that really helps me go like, okay, I've spoken to people, it's okay. So yeah, I would just like to say that about that. um, Moving on, uh, losing your subjectivity means becoming a hollow undead. This is like the part where I think like Hegel would say like the poetic part. It's like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. It's a statement. The human imagination is far more powerful than anyone truly realizes. I actually have a comment for that, so I'm going to say, oh God, it is already like 7:30. Okay, so 2031, CC 31. So I used to think that like the human imagination was such this is like an amazing like apparatus that we have, but I'm starting to believe that like I wrote this like post on my Patreon which I really liked. It was just about the idea that like we will like to believe that our imagination will take us anywhere. It's super. Good morning. Okay. So I would like to think that it's that, but now when I think about it more and more, like our imagination is funded, and maybe it's because I'm not an artistic genius and I don't have the most fantastic imagination, but I think it's fed by whatever we have experienced. And maybe imagination is just really amazing from outside looking in. So if we look at like Kafka's imagination and his stories, you could be super amazed because it's like you would have never thought of that. But what I'm trying to say is like I feel like there's this sublime encounter that you have where you find something in real life that you never knew existed, that you could have never imagined. And my two examples, oh my gosh, I like have so many tech issues. It's like a problem. Um, Talk. Well, okay. The thing that I wrote in the post was basically like coming across books that authors have written that I could never have imagined they would have. And another is like actualizing a life that I never imagined that I could have. Like literally 2 years ago, I was living in LA, living a completely different life. And the fact that I'm here doing this right now is nothing I could ever imagine. It was just nothing I could ever imagine. And I was just talking, what is happening? I'm literally not doing any hand signs. And my friend that I was talking to today, it was just this idea of like adulthood, not even like being able to imagine the fact that we are here right now. And the whole idea of a 5-year plan to me is redundant. But that I could address another time. Uh, I feel like this is gonna take so long, but okay, I'll power through it. And you have to go, but thank you for coming. We have like 27 minutes left technically, but I'm not even done with like 5. I'll try to go faster. So Benji, not sure if this won't get drowned in the hype. I enjoy this very much. Mostly just you vibing for a great topic. Follow-up analysis needs to wait post-examen phase, but I feel like reading a little personal might be a great fit for this topic, although maybe a little basic. Not basic, meditation, uh, Cartesian meditations is a good go. There's another one which is, I don't know the English title, but it's not like the idea of phenomenology, but it's something else. Do I have it here? Oh, here. Well, it is the idea of phenomenology, actually. So, the idea of phenomenology is good too. But Hegel is so much more fundamental. And I say this just because I've read this and I've read like the Cartesian meditations, and they're just like a lot of repeated stuff, but it just seems like a watered down version of Hegel. So that's my comment. One of the interesting implications of the last quote you discussed seems to be not so much that one loses their thought, or their private experience, but rather that, oh my God, this is so long. But rather that it is being emptied of subjectivity. The phenomenal world becomes deprived of all content by way of supplementing this lack that constitutes the subject. The difficult thing is me reading out loud is more like I don't really understand it as much as if I read it in my head, but we will try. But subjecting it to content. This kind of obvious, but it is ironic to consider when taking into account how it is precisely the situation of new media that has configured itself as a massive content machine that deals content in the abstract. What does that mean? Deals content in the abstract. It can succeed as an abstract form, which really signals the fungibility, and reducibility. I don't think that's the right spelling of the whole anyway. Precisely because of the stress upon the subject, which is to use the phrase of Adorno's from his essay on the schema. You guys can comment if you want me to address really long posts or not, because we'll be here forever. But I will do it if that is what seems to be promised. But again, I didn't really look at my comments, so I didn't know that these existed in this length. But please let me know. To react is not only to participate and play. Oh, wait, I skipped a line. This implication becomes more interesting considering that the grammar of context is essentially imitative. This is why the response mechanism unique to content all emphasize and prioritize reaction to a certain extent. To react is not to participate. This is like halfway through. To react is not only to participate and play a part, but to embody the role of subjectivity itself, to imitate it and exhaust it in the process. What would responsible use mean in the face of content? How does thinking proceed under the sign of thought in the medium, in the spirit of disobedience to brevity? Okay, because I see you like Wittgenstein, and in the spirit of imitation, here's a picture I like looking at sometimes. This is really long. Wait, hypertext. Social media represents the mass corporate branding of hypertext as context in the abstract. The content represents the reduction of hypertext to imitate forms and from the extraction. The creative functions. Reaction from the limits of content. The plurality of content. To make war on content. Thumbs up. Okay. Do you guys actually want me to read everything? Does anyone want to say anything about that? Oh, there's like, I can't really answer any questions because then I'll be like doing too much. I'll finish off this and then I don't know how it's gonna work with this, but I guess I'll just see whatever's left when I come back. Does anyone want to say? You can probably just move on for time. Answer if you feel it's relevant. Okay, how about this? I'll scan through it, and then if instead of reading it and figuring it out, I'll scan through it, and then I'll just subscribe, love the video, heart. Your reaction to objective, subjective is hilarious. Hilarious. I never read Kierkegaard. I wouldn't have a chance here. You're clearly brilliant, so it makes us non-geniuses to not feel so bad to do some unpacking here. There's like something I could say about that, but just like I don't see a true distinction between my intellect as a potential as others. So as in like if anyone, I mean of course with a grain of salt, if anyone like has, if you put yourself through the trials and tribulations of trying to enhance your intellect, and then you don't classify yourself as brilliant at the end, then we'll have a discussion. But a lot of times I feel like people stop before they even try to see how far their intellect can take them. You're my new postmodern friend. Subscribed. Don't know what that means. If anyone knows what postmodern means, 16 Chapel. This is the kind of comments that I expected to get, where people like just correct you on something that's so non-essential. But yeah, like Michelangelo with the angels, it is in the 16 Chapel, but the guy that I was listening to was at the Vatican. So just to clarify that. Post-structuralism is the death of this society. This is the comment that I wanted to respond to. So CC 39. So, oh shoot. So it's just about the idea of like questioning the structure of society and everything. What did I write? I wrote quite simply, I like that my credit card is under my name. I like that I can vote. I like that I don't have to marry for money, because earning my own money means that I have the possibility of not marrying at all, or marrying for love, or for whatever reason I want to marry other than like a male person's money. So yeah, I think it's super great. Post-structuralism, questioning the structure because uh, it's not built in an equitable way, because it just can't be, because the power in general and hierarchy in general just means that one person has it more than another person, and it's always about rebalancing stuff and trying to be fair and as just as you can be with everyone else. So yes, fucking love post-structuralism. Leave in the comment below. Also, the conclusion was just awesome and ambiguous. A lot to ponder. Your video was a surprise that I didn't know I needed today. Thank you. Randomly landed here. Oh, this is like another post. Sorry. What a mythical algo pool. I need to understand more. Great vibe. Pauses. Thank you. This is on oppression. I think subjectivity is a prerequisite for consciousness. If perception is identical to reality, then there's no perception, only reality. Yes, very clear. You have a good intuition about things. Thank you. Random part. Okay. Yeah, I gotta read some Lacan. What should I read first? I don't know. Let me ask Jeremy. Jeremy's like giving all these like really great resources, and I post them on like under the post for the lives if you're following on Hegel. So check there. Let me ask Jeremy. What a great video. Seriously, thank you. Thanks, algorithm. Okay, cool. Great video. I think you should read Anti-Oedipus by Deleuze and Guattari. They talk about capitalism, deterritorializing behavior, which seems relevant to your argument. I will in the future. Thanks, algorithm, for channel. Why are you reading this? This is another one that I wanted to read. Okay, so it's like, why are you reading this straight white man's philosophy? Okay, what is this? We're 42 minutes in. We're 42 minutes in. So, why am I reading the straight white man's philosophy? Because I like the straight white man. Like, they're, questionable. But no, like, I've met a lot of straight white men who are really, like, decent and sometimes awesome human beings. But yeah, I love this, like, reverse thing, because it's like, there's a lot of pressure, I feel like, especially for me, like, being a woman and, like, being Asian. It's like, oh, don't you know anything about Oriental philosophy? It's like, oh, like, aren't you gonna do, like, feminism philosophy? And I'm like, give me time, yo. Like, I can't do everything. Like I'm gonna build my base, and then I'm gonna build branches. But yeah, so feminism, I think it's embedded with like different angles of my argument anyway. But I saw this and I was just like, this is so funny. Okay, so yeah, this guy just wrote a lot of stuff. I'm gonna skip him. It's like the same dude who like commented on 4 different videos. Okay, hello, thank you. I think you might be interested in Boudrillard. Amazing conference called La violence fait aux images. The violence made 2 images. The violence made 2 images. He also describes a very precise practice of photography. Okay, thank you for this. Interesting. We'll watch. Okay. Someone wrote in Malay. It's like, why are you sitting on your back? Cool. Very interesting. My opinion, the concept of objective is just a convention that allows approximate the probability certain objective. For me, it is also not true that there's a possibility of seeing the world, probably an approximation among the chaos. One can distinguish patterns that have a great chance of corresponding to reality. It is never a clean and contaminated pattern. And we are not in the position to discern what a clean conceptualization would be. That is an impulsive enterprise. Yeah, dude. Read Hegel. Read Hegel. I feel deprived of my own subjectivity when I interact with the world in terms of trying to get something done. This happens when things like gravity and the non-subjectivity of things work against what I had intended or fantasized to happen. I think it's fantasy. You're deprived of actualizing your fantasy. Your subjectivity acknowledges this, I believe. Anyway. Okay. I write the subscribe notice as a subtitle, but in one video I made it. Okay, this is like random. Being emptied of your subjectivity will lead to a disassociation with the self, leading to identify with things outside of you, and therefore losing control and leading to neuroticism, as well as taking on attributes of things around you. Done on a mass scale, you have ideas working each other in human form, which would describe our cultural wars. I think it's a huge stretch, but I'm just gonna say something real quick about this. 46. So I don't know, have you guys watched The Twilight Zone? It's like this black and white series. It's freaking amazing. It's kind of just like, I think there's just one, there's many really amazing episodes. It's always like you're taking the position of the so-called crazy person, but the crazy person has the rationality that we do. So it's like this person like wakes up and then like everyone's like kind of blurred out. And then they were like, I'm so sorry you went through this plastic surgery and you're still hideous. And it's like this whole film where she's like, you know, in days. And in the end, you realize like she looks like our beauty ideals, and everyone else has like, you know, pig heads as faces or grotesque faces. And it's just this idea of like everything is based on our current outside reality. I actually have planned a video after this, after my series, at some point when I can magically make everything happen, called maladaptation, which is basically because Spinoza argues that we all have like our own specific, like the thing that we all have in common is that our essence is desire, but then our desire in and of itself is based on our own determination. So that's what makes it like different from other people, but it's the same because we all have the same mechanism, the same essence. My question was just so much about like, okay, if we have all of this, then how do we accept laws? And then, you know, I haven't read like theological politico. It's like his political work, but it was just this idea of like, then how do we find like this, how do we expect all these people with different desires to, and I know this sounds really obvious, but based on his philosophy, it's just kind of like the genuine question of like, okay, if you constructed the human being in this way, the essence in this way, how can we expect all of us to be able to conform to a law? And then he talks about like higher reason, and if you can see higher reason, then of course you abide by the law. But as we all know, like laws aren't created by a person of collective universal higher reason, whatever that truly means. But yeah, I don't know, like for me, fines is really just get out of, like, it's just like permission for rich people to just do whatever they want, and it's something to really stifle a poor person, to make them afraid to do something that a rich person can do super easily. Like I have a friend, like her car was towed and she was like set back $10,000. And I was like, oh, this is like so rough. Like, and a rich person would just be like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But my friend would have this baggage of $10,000 in debt for a really long time just because her car got towed. I think that was a tangent, but moving on. Man, you have great handwriting. Oh yeah, no, and my video on maladaptation is his argument of like how it is that in the end we can actually, it's not totally normal for you to not feel like you fit into a specific society, which is something that I obviously agree with because I've changed societies 4 times because France is my 4th country of residence. So great handwriting, thank you. It's pretty long. Okay, lacking subjectivity would be like lacking nuance. The state of being objective or subjective isn't necessarily a state of knowledge. Gnosis, I think gnosis is knowledge, but rather how we interpret the world as either some who lack personal subjectivity. What does it mean lacking personal subjectivity? Would know everything objectively, which would lead to brick wall behavior. Do I want to address this? Okay. 40 CC 49. Just really quickly, like if you're planning on, well, I mean, do whatever you want, I guess. But like if you're planning on actually receiving responses from me in the future, it helps if the argument is actually supported or clear or, brought out. Because what he's saying is not wrong, but, and also there's not one way to rationalize things. But if there isn't like kind of, I don't know how to like verbalize this. It's like something that helps me is like when I watch my tutors and they literally just say to a student like, I don't know what you mean. Like, and then like the student just has to reformulate their question just so that it comes across. But sometimes it's like you're not wrong, but it's like I can't get your point if it's formulated in this way. Yeah, some other person wrote about politeness. Okay, this one I saw before, which I like, which is basically a person saying that he's one of the few people who actually um, has been a discreet subscriber, and that he just wants to let me know that no one comes out of my channel unchanged. It's a extremely, sorry, it's in French. C'est une qualité extrêmement rare ici. It's a very rare quality here. Merci pour tout. Thank you for everything. Merci à tout. Okay, the next one is extremely long, and I'm just gonna, if you're emptied of your, oh, this is by Ben, and Ben's here, so I guess I'll address it because, you showed up, so it'd be a dick move if I don't read this. If you're emptied from your subjectivity, it's not that you stop thinking, it's that if you're emptied from your subjectivity, it's not that you stop thinking, it's that you stop thinking. There's no longer a subject to considering that appears in front of you, but it is an objective necessity to act according to the information, which disavows that there is even a question to. The recognition of making a decision is short-circuited. Instead of recognizing information having color letters A, B, and C, which can be the decision being made by the subject, but the short circuit makes the decision more pure to them. There's action and not impression divided into potential necessity. Yeah, Ben, if you'd like to reformulate shorter and clearer, be helpful. And also, I think like what makes a good argument sometimes is like you don't need to use very big terms. You like to get your point across. Sometimes it's actually better to be the most understandable. So I could say like what's like a big I mean, is solipsism like a big word? Like you could use a big word, or you can just use something like plain language to connect your concepts together without separating them with too many different things to kind of have an air that it's much more than what it is, because the whole point of philosophy is communicating and also convincing and mainly teaching. So if it's too convoluted, it's kind of defeating itself. And again, this is completely opposite of like not having complex language, because again, like I said, for Hegel, I actually feel like if I really dedicate myself, because half the time when I don't get something and I just read back 2 paragraphs and I start again, I understand. But it just takes a deliberate effort. But with this, I don't feel like I'll get much of a payoff from the deliberate effort. So if you want to make it shorter and more clear, then I can answer you. Great stuff. Okay, Heart, I like you. You don't know me. Philo of Biology Facebook, don't know what that is. You got to do the voice when you quote Žižek. So this, Jeremy said that this was the best thing. I personally, it's like, I think like now we just take it for granted that he is okay being mocked for his nervous manifestations. I think it's extremely brave. I have tutors that also deal with anxiety, and a lot of, like, I deal with freaking anxiety. And I think it's really admirable that we have this barrier and we still like want to share. So no, I won't be participating in that. Žižek is lame, to be honest. You're lame, but I'm not gonna. Someone said the great analysis. Right. Very nice video. As an amateur avid philosopher and enjoyer, here are my points. These are long. Like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, okay. It's like, share, and subscribes is pushed by the onboarding tutorial on social media. 100% agree. Like 100% agree. And that's why it's also like thoughtless. It's like you just ask people to do it, and you're like, do you actually care if people do it? Your ways to interact. I'm just gonna say keywords. Hopefully you follow me. Metrics. They don't care. Yeah, they don't care about any particular channel succeeding. On the contrary, they prefer to diversify their engagement. Yes, it's interesting. What they want it to subconsciously instill into the viewership the instructions with a sleight of hand through the creators. Oh, so you're saying it's like YouTube using creators to do this? Okay, okay. I would hope that nobody would like, share, and subscribe when they hear the whistle. Yeah, yeah. 100%. I like to always think about Žižek through his signature lens. What do we lose with losing authoritarianism? In this case, the ideology is fed through a democratic form of control. Yeah, like that phrase, democratic form of control. 100%. Number of views, debates, and opinions. Oh, dang! I didn't timestamp. What do we have here? 53, 56. CC 53. Okay. Where was I? Number of views, debates, and opinions in the comments, and the democratic shaping of the storyboard puts a subconscious emotional weight on the media we consume. Yeah, the higher the number of democratic engagement. I love this. It's like he's using democratic as a slur. It's like democratic engagement. And the more the uniform the reception is, the more valid, yeah, the content should be to my reality. Thus, ways and I think he meant reasons for dissidents becomes more opaque. Yes, this is interesting. Heart. The current state of media robs us of fantasy, and without fantasy, there's no dissonance. We're in agreement. And he has another point. My understanding of an empty subject is through a Hegelian subject forming. The subject, emotion, intuition, need context from reality, how to express it, how to deal with them, etc. That is mediated through subjectivity, how we interpret the response from the objective. How we interpret the response from the objective. How I understood the problem is that until now, we formed subjectivity progressively through our lifelong interactions with reality by forming fantasies to mediate the anxiety and discrepancy, contradictions coming from the subject. This is interesting. But if one subjectivity is attacked by a democratically justified ideology, we are emotionally blackmailed to reject fantasies. This thus increasing our anxiety and dissatisfaction with our experience. If one fully conforms to rejecting fantasy, they become empty, exchanging their life experiences with ideology. Bravo. Okay. Do I have pin? Remove. No. I want to pin him. Pin. So this is like going to be so arbitrary because as I go along, if something's better, I'll just repin that. But so far, I think that's the most interesting comment that I've come across. Where was I? Okay, I think this may be what I recently figured out about my life. I started creating my subjective ability in order to achieve my goals. Sort of taking things are just constructions, affirming. Skipping. Lol, oh dear, you took the words out of my mouth. Hurt. You made me feel gross, but I did subscribe, which is phenomenal. Heart. Questions. You ask the fuzzy entrance to whatever is replacing modernity, just like we never in control. To you who ask questions, most of my peers formulating a while back. Stop formulating a while back. I understood the last sentence, but not everything else. Love the fancy mic. Me too. We're working on it. Okay, this one was like something I wanted to reply. So this person said, objectively subjective is a redundancy like a lot of continental intellectual babble, even though not just, oh, I'm just going to write that I'm commenting on this. CC 59. Oh my God, talking an hour. So every thought, not just fantasy, is objective to the mind of the thinker. Call it mental qualia or whatever. Like the redundancy of saying mental qualia, because qualia itself is like our perception of our senses. So, and our perception of our senses okay, it's just not objective to others, which is why it is simply subjective definition of subjective. It's like funny because then he writes, what I'm thinking Slavoj means is that with pure indulgent fantasy specifically, we are trying pretty hard to forget that it is not objective to others. In other pleasant forms of fantasy, non-indulgent, we are not even trying, we do not realize for a bit, which can be fleetingly delicious. This is like so what do you call it? Like for self-satisfaction. It's like he doesn't care if anyone else reads this. One, objectively subjective is a very rich term. To just throw it off as redundant and intellectual babble is just because you're not using your faculties. Two, I fucking love it when someone goes like, you know what, let's just ignore like everything this person wrote, but like let me tell you what they actually wanted to say. And then they just like come up with this whole text and like pure indulgent fantasy with like italics just to tell you what it is that Slavoj meant to mean, but it's actually absolutely nowhere in the text. Like it's like no, again I'm just gonna repeat myself, but I think it's ridiculous. Discard discard comment. I'm not right. Oh wait, did I already not post this? Okay. Great content. You should put text on screen so you can read along. Oh my god, this person. CC 50 1 hour. Wow. 1 hour 2 minutes. Sorry everyone. So imagine like if I had to do this by myself, how long this would take. Think about it, right? Everyone's like, because again, like, you know, I'm not doing all the right things. Like, you should reply to everyone. Like, you should have engagement. Like, no, I don't have time. So yeah, asking me to put the text along the screen, I put a text which said that because he's a contemporary philosopher, I really don't think that it's public domain, and I've quoted him in his original. Like, I would be quoting him in his original language with like his text being the majority of the video. Like you can't. I know there's a bit of leeway in terms of like how much you could put in someone else's work and then you transform it in a certain way. But because again, like he is too contemporary, he's alive, he's still here. But his work is like, you know, being published. It's just like I think it's. I didn't post it because I just didn't want to get like a copyright issue or whatever. But I'm so new at this. I'm not sure if that's even an issue, but just in case. But yeah, if you read that text, you would know. I instantly like the candor of your work. No BS intro, straight to the point, reading notes on paper, self-reflection about your perspective and stuff. Thank you. And I really appreciate the self-reflection about your perspective because I think that's another thing. Like just because you have a thought, the very first thought might not be the best thing. And it's important to really question what it is that you just thought about and how it relates to everything you're trying to say. Okay, this person was just voicing his opinion. I don't have anything to really reply to that. Only if you happen to care. There's a YouTuber literally called Lectures on Khan. Well, I have Jeremy. I don't need to watch that. I think it's definitely similar to how we consign language games, but on a social level. You don't have to play the social game, of the big other by its rules, and then you don't belong to. But the rules are, like you said, subjectively objective. It is a pull push. Okay, someone said a bit about Lacan. About your ideas of algorithms, I agree they make us lazy, decadent, really. But as far as preventing us from opening up to new ideas to see the future, I think that's not true. Because the algorithm finds us content based on our past, it shows different takes on familiar topics. But due to the nature of content, we can find new side roads we never knew existed. This can lead inquisitive people to new ideas, no problem. There's so many ways to argue the opposite. It's not like in French you just say like c'est pas faux. It's like it's not wrong, but I'm not gonna say I agree. I love how you were surprised by your own notes, a true philosophical experience. Yeah, I think I told this to Jesse and Jeremy. I was like, I had a plan, and then at some point I thought what I was coming across was more interesting than what I had planned completely. Uh, so this person wrote about Lacan. Obviously, I'm not going to comment about something I don't know, so I'm not going to comment about Lacan. And also, most of these are just people wanting to say what they know and doesn't really require a response. So this is a nihilist. YouTube algorithm. Thanks for the channel. Heart for the algorithm. You think in Michelangelo's headcanon the angels were maglev? Okay, not an expert on the Bible. I so-called fact check, which was like a 5-minute Google, and I think like maglev and seraphims are not actually angels. But can't answer. Not an expert on the Bible. Thanks for this video. I'll read the book, especially the third part of the video, which makes me think of Cruising Utopia by Esteban Munoz. Imagination is as a productive. As critiquing the current state of things, meaning, and the imagination, imagining a better world, even though not possible to achieve. Thanks for the recommendation. A welcome from Žižek Strait. Although I think Žižek Strait is amazing, but do I heart? Okay. Thank you, Heart. Welcome. At 1413, you start to address something that's always been on my mind, but which nobody wants to unpack from my standpoint. Very fresh to be honestly interested. When she said perceived values, all I can think about is how is this, someone else commented, is how is the subject to perception, and one is perceived, one I think he meant once it's perceived, it becomes reality to one's subjectiveness, simply because it can be perceived in terms of reality. Okay, I think I'm gonna start skipping stuff that are. How are you guys doing? Oh, you guys are having like a full-on conversation. Okay, so you have fun there. I'll have fun here. Okay, and then we get to Jesse's. Hell yeah, similar to the Wings IIRC. Is that like a short form for Dante's? Which one? Dante's realization of hell is another piece of media. What? That has inculcated itself entirely in popular understanding of Christian theology. What does that mean? Hell is another piece of media. Despite owing arguably more to the classical mythology than biblical texts, narrative design in games is a particular fascination of mine that I haven't really brought up in the group discussion. Bring it up. And I think there's a real resonant tension between the focus on players' choice as self-expression and telling a coherent, purposive narrative. I think this needle can be threaded in interesting ways, but it remains a constant dialectic struggle in this medium. Yeah, like I mean, it's this whole thing like how free are you when like your decisions, your choices are already determined for you. But yeah, and this question of like how it is that the game developers can maintain a narrative while allowing different variations based on the choices of the player. So yeah, super interesting as usual. Also interesting is the notion of interpassivity in Robert Fowler, drawing from Lacan and Žižek. Okay. You speak German. You kind of sound similar to Elise Chappell. You should do more videos in her style, but of course, do whatever you like. I'm not sure who Elise Chappell is, but cool. I mean, it's good to know that more people are doing something I'm doing. Awesome. I didn't quite get the thing with the angels because even if in the Bible the angels are not chubby cute babies, but rather particular monstrosities, many of them do have wings. For example, cherubims and seraphim. Again, from what I read, they're not angels, but I don't know. I'm not an expert in the Bible. So this person wrote Lucy Liu has competition, spelling Lucy wrong. So we'll just skip. I really like your point on judgment capacity moving the world. in which we are products. Products have no subjectivity. This is a Marxist thing now. The subjectivity parts in he likes and sells it. You're supposed to judge. Okay, someone has an opinion. You didn't say like, share, and subscribe, but you put it in the title of your video. You did the angels with wing things. I mean, you could say that, but like, it was more of like a topical choice rather than asking people to like, share, and subscribe. How does that make that the angels with wing things? Žižek in the footsteps of. Okay, it's a comment. What is this? Okay, awesome. Don't know what that was. Think I'm gonna stay. Heart. I wonder who does more damage to your pretty little head. New media overcoded by capital, or Žižek with his contradictions, negation and emptiness, which are symptoms of dialecticians, resentment, and bad consciousness. Define bad consciousness. Often, like, people just say stuff, you don't know what they're saying, so you just ask them to say what they're saying, and then they realize they don't know what they're saying, and they leave, hopefully. Cool video, clearly not as well read as you, but here is a shot in dark. He asked me what I thought. I don't know what to say, so then I'm just gonna skip. Wonderful, got this recommended to me. Seems like the algorithm is somewhat reliable, although I somewhat agree it makes people lazy. This is the same thing. I think it's also. Okay, the fun comment about this is that like after he watches a lot, he feels like he has to shake himself like a wet dog because he feels oversaturated. Thanks for taking the time. So my initial thoughts of the notion of emptiness is about the Buddhist notion of emptiness, of which I have a shallow understanding that leads to wondering about how the sense of significance is just an emotional response. Yeah, that's the Buddhist thing. It's just kind of like the only reason why we suffer is because we have an attachment that things are always gonna stay the way that we remember it. Not something inherent to or absent to media. I bet the most vapid thing out there has catalyzed very deep feeling in some people. Even the notion of some feeling as deep versus shallow feels false to me. But comparing stuff to each other is built into the way I see things. Opinion. Žižek says a lot of stuff. Much of it is a revelation, but he is not the final word, and he's kind of crazy. Yeah, he's not the final word, but I reckon not crazy. My opinion. I don't think he's crazy. Awesome, heart, personal notes, nothing interesting to anyone. Okay, that's permission to move on. I just like women. Better than hating women. It's annoying when Chichet men are friendly when commenting because she's attractive, but they don't realize it. It's annoying that I just learned what Chichet means. Should I find out what Chichet means? Let's see. Do I want to know? Oh, this is what the internet does to you. When you like read it and you're like, Chichet. Someone is both cisgender and heterosexual. So a straight person? Why do you have to say Chichet? Oh, cis hetero. See, this is like the trap, right? They call you beautiful, and then after that, it's like, oh yeah, it's just because you're beautiful. It's not because you actually think. You got a new subscriber. Thank you. I wish I could study philosophy full time. Do it for me. um, he's like, I reread the Plague of Fantasies because when he listened to it on Audible, it's Audible garbage. Okay, more opinions. So Žižek wrote a book about Zen Buddhism, overflowing cup story proverb. That's just a sentence and 17 people liked it. Don't know what it references. Interesting. But you're right, you shouldn't count on the algo alone to unturned stones for you. Influencers' numbers do count, not bots. Yeah, what I was saying is that before we didn't take them seriously and now we do. Obviously now it's obvious that influencers have an influence, but I don't know what, 8 years ago, no one realized this because none of it was actualized. And that's the whole point about like the real semblance. So yeah, that's what I'm saying is I was talking about the development, not contradicting the facts. So this, I think we're near the end. Okay. Well, the algorithm did good, liking and subscribing, but not because you said so. I didn't say so though, but I'll heart. No share. I don't tend to share. Didn't have philosophical friends. The idea of angels with wings, human angels, shape it. Cool. Unfortunately, I'm here for female in the thumbnail and Žižek in the title. Cool. Very interesting. Okay, this is actually, it's really, really long. 2 other people replied him. I think that's great. My favorite dude, Gilbert, he says maintain. I just want to make a comment on maintain real quick. People say that, but I don't know what it means because I make things that I think are interesting, but I have a feeling that people won't like or just misunderstand. I don't know. Why am I doing this? It's like a masochistic like cry. But I don't know what maintain means, but I guess it just means like keep doing what I'm doing, even if I don't know if it's gonna work. Keep your videos. I think we're done. So if anyone like, I feel like you guys are having your own conversation. So if there's anything specific for me, you can write them now while I just like talk about my call to action and the video for about 2 weeks from now. Or if you don't have any questions, that's great too, because then we can just say goodbye soon. So this person said that he doesn't feel confident about reading it, the book. So I have a quick comment on that. CC 118. However you say. Yeah, I mean, it's when you say critique, you just mean analyze. It's not critique like debunk it and get rid of it. It's like it's something that we want as a society. And something else that someone said like earlier on is just like it's just a manifestation of the collective want and desire because as a society we are pretty good at getting rid of things that we don't care about, like the environment. So yeah. Oh, just the comment on like no confidence to read it. Once you start doing it, you'll get confidence. It's pretty simple. Like you feel like you can't do something and then you just keep doing it. And one day you realize like, oh damn, like I can do it. So that's just the thing about confidence. So thank you for sitting through this. I'll be really quick about my last 2 things. I'll look at the thing if there's anything for me, which I don't think there is. But the call to action is something that I just wrote really quick. But haters, basically like if you have, and it's not just for me, this is like a call to action for anyone who wants to help out another person in my situation who wants to make this work. And it's not only like smaller creators, it's all creators that like start hating the internet and then you have less and less of things that you want. It's that like haters have a lot of interior motivations to spread misery. Rational people have better things to do, so they don't actually say anything. But if we don't enforce with laws or preserve like art, what we care about perishes. So take care of things that take care of you. So I know I said like don't comment or whatever, but and I'm trying to create my own systems where I don't uh, require people to do extra things, like again, like with my axioms group and stuff, just so that like I get like a real person's response and not just like some words on the screen. But I'm just gonna say like if it's never been in your consideration, just know that silent solidarity is important, but it's really difficult when you get let's just say like 5 comments that have their own dimension of reality that doesn't serve you, that always pops up, and everyone else just like letting it slide. And if okay, fine, if you don't even want to do this for anyone online, maybe do it for someone in real life, and I think the world would be a better place. Okay, so the next video is on Spinoza and standards, when not to say thank you or when to outright avoid people in life. Usually I post every 2 weeks, but with Hegel, I think I'm going to maybe take 3 weeks on this. It is essentially, in real life when we actually like someone does something for us and we don't actually appreciate it and it wasn't actually helpful, but we feel like out of politeness or social whatever reasons we have to say thank you. I make the argument why we shouldn't. Uh, yeah, I want to keep this short, but the argument why we shouldn't, and the argument is to maintain our standards, and our standard is reason, and also that it's actually a positive thing for the parasite and the flatterer as well as yourself, maintaining your level of standard. And it's I think it's gonna be a good video. So there's great talking to you, even though I came around late. See you all. Okay, so yeah, I guess this is the end of it because I am not at the capacity to answer any questions. But I thank everyone for your time and for your support, and I'll see you the next live, I think. Thank you. Ciao.